Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm going to be discussing my final paper. Just a disclaimer, if you see my head go that way, it's not intentional, it's just my cat likes to push the door open, and even though it's shut, he will still push it open. Anyways, let me get started so this is not long. So, I chose to write my paper on new media and really just discuss it as a whole, specifically focusing on teachers and how they handle it, how they utilize it, the challenges they face. Um, I guess I talk a little bit about the challenges of new media, which is not necessarily the negative aspects, but more or less the actual challenges of new media. Um, so yeah, let me get started. Okay, so I discussed the background of new media because I feel it was necessary in order to lead into what I was talking about. So we know that it's the means to communicate and prosper digitally with new platforms as opposed to traditional context of media like reading and writing. We see it in videos, podcasts, blogs, websites, digital ads, and I'm sure there's tons of others, but I just kept it short and sweet. The impact of media, I discuss this in my paper because many students have grown up understanding what a computer, laptop, phone, or television is, and media accommodates a different learning style. I myself love to look at pictures, I love videos, it adds an extra perspective for me, so I can only imagine how students feel when you introduce that in the classroom instead of just taking notes. Um, there's my cat. Let me just pause. So, hopefully that wasn't too distracting. My cat did come in, but I cut the video. Anyways, so challenges in new media. This was really important for me because I didn't want my paper to seem biased, as if I'm like all for new media this, new media that. I really wanted to discuss how even though it's beneficial, there's still some challenges that it poses. Um, For starters, it can be very easy to just throw on a video, throw on a movie, um, overload your Google Slides with pictures, and I wanted to emphasize that new media shouldn't take over your instruction. That's defeating the purpose, in my opinion. Yes, everyone loves pictures, but we don't need a picture overload because there is still words that people need to process. There is still sentences that students need to understand, um, etc. So, another challenge that I talked about, which was a little hard for me to explain in my paper, but I believe I covered it, is just that new media alters the meaning of literacy itself. So, like this class is called New Media and New Literacy, and when I hear the word literacy, I think of reading. I don't know what you guys think, but new media does alter like that traditional meaning. So, I think that that can change the way individuals act with one another by performing new habits of mind, new ways of processing culture, and interacting with the world. And what I was trying to get at is that when you throw a picture up there or you use a picture in history, per se, um, pictures can be interpreted differently than intended. So that's something to definitely keep in mind if you're going to use new media in your instruction. Um, and it's just one of those things that you don't think about all the time, but it is something that is there. So that's what I was kind of getting, trying to come across with. But oh. So distractions. New media is definitely a big distraction. So students obviously have new media on their electronic platforms, and I myself, I sub right now, and all the students have Chromebooks. So for them, that's like a game. Like, let me get my work done so I could open my Chromebook. And half the time, they're not even looking at the work they're doing. They're not even retaining it. They're just focused on doing something else. And usually, it's playing a game on their Chromebook or watching a video. And it's just really hard to combat. Um, and so we know Chromebooks look like mini laptops. They're cost effective. They're portable. They're an easy way to, give out assignments and have students complete them. You're limiting the use of paper, basically. It's not 100% bad, but I definitely think it's an issue. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but yeah, so definitely talked about that in my paper a lot. And finally, I got to my teacher aspect. So basically, teachers versus new media. I put it that way because I do kind of feel like it's a combat if you are not aware of certain technology available and how to use it. So I think for teachers to use new media effectively, they need to be equipped with resources and they need to understand foundational features of newer technology. And it's unfortunate because I think that's what drives a lot of teachers to not teach or to not use it. So I'm sure there's like different things that can be done to help these teachers, but at the end of the day, it is a lot of work. It's like basically a teacher relearning something, or not relearning it, but kind of putting themselves in a student's shoes and learning technology. I'm sure that's a lot. I don't think teachers really want to do that, so I completely understand why it becomes more of like a I'm not going to use this in my classroom as much type vibe. But as one of the quotes stated that I put in my paper, a teacher can make more effective use of media if he or she understands underlying concepts about the teaching learning process. So I think that pretty much sums it up. That's why I left this very open slide. Moving forward. So, yes, new media is a fairly new concept, but it's brought many insightful elements to the classroom. However, without adequate knowledge of the foundations of technology, teachers can be hindered in keeping pace with the dynamic concepts of technology. I think that speaks for itself. I don't really need to reword that. It's basically just saying, without the basics, you're not going to exceed. Um, Not going to succeed, exceed. Pretty sure it's the same type of vibe, but you get the point. So I think that's the end. Yeah. But my main thing, I guess, with this paper was that, or that I found at least, was, you know, I have a mixed feeling. I don't know if it's just because I'm young. I don't know if it's just because I see things differently or I try to see things differently. But I really think that if teachers took the time and even asked their students, like, have a student stay back, offer them extra credit to show them stuff that they don't know. I think that would be a great way to connect. That would be a great way to learn things. I think, there's a technology department in the school that I sub at. I'm sure there's many of them in every other school. Um, I feel like taking the time out of your day to really learn will really help them in the long run. Obviously, I understand if you're like, no, I want to do is traditional writing. That's great, but don't forget your students are a lot younger than you and have grown up in a technological age, and it's just important to consider that. I think students would appreciate it if you related to them, you know? But yes, that's really it. Sorry if I mumbled or jumbled or got a little mixed up. My cat is sitting right here. It's a little distracting. But if you have any questions, please email me any comments. I love to talk about this stuff. That's why I chose such a basic topic that I can expand on and really find a lot of articles. I probably had about 8 citations, maybe more. Um, and I genuinely looked through them to find stuff that I was going to use, to find quotes that really spoke to me, which was very time consuming. Um, I really enjoyed this assignment, and I hope that this helped, or I hope that this made sense, and I hope you got something out of it, but I'm looking forward to reading the rest of yours. Thank you!